Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining GDIC Consultants Alliant3 webinar. My name is Muge Carsley, and I have with me my colleague, Ab Vond. We're going to go through the program itself along with the scoring system, the optimization, and compliance. A little bit of administrative notes before we get started. We are recording this webinar, and the link to the recording will be sent to you within 24 hours. We are going to hold a Q&A session at the end, so you can start to send in your questions as we're going through the webinar using the chat feature, which is to the right of your window, and we'll address them right after we're done with the webinar. Also, you can download this presentation by clicking on the link under the File tab on the right-hand side of the panel of your window. Just a little bit of who we are. Of course, we have more than a decade of outstanding, solid performance. We have rocket growth. We have 82% and more win rates with our customers and with average in the past 3 years. We have over 50 proposal managers. We bring extensive experience, a lot of subject matter experts within our organization, where we cover experience from almost all of the federal agencies. Over 84% of them, of our experts have more than 20 or more years of experience within our company. We have 143 wins in 2021, which is, very high win rate with over 12.3 billion in proposal values that we have submitted for our customers. We support proposals to major defense departments, combatants, DoD components, and all federal agencies. We bring quite a bit of experience and subject matter expertise on self-scoring. We have, here's some of the successful self-scoring proposals. So we've got 6 wins on Alliant3. We have had 12 wins on the Oasis Unrestricted and 41 on the small business, 18 wins on the Astro, both emerging and other than small business for both emerging and large, and 29 on the small business set-asides. We have won the unrestricted HCATs and 8 wins on the small business. With these self-scoring proposals, we do have an average win rate of 96%. And we do training, self-scoring training for APMP chapters and other clients. As mentioned, we do have a wide variety of clients that range from very small companies that we have also helped partner with other stronger companies. We have supported some of the largest defense contractors in the market, one of the top 10. And we are experts in maximizing your score and ensuring compliance on these GWACs. Our webinar agenda. We're going to start out by talking about a word about the self-scoring systems, a quick review of the Alliant3 101. What does the proposal structure and award basis look like? The scoring system. We're going to talk about score optimization. We're going to talk about ensuring compliance, and then we're going to start with Q&As. Right through the self-scoring proposals. So the process. With these GWACs, it's very important that you first score yourself. Provide the documentation, whatever past performance, contract documents that you have that's going to prove, that's going to also not only prove but justify the scoring that you're proposing to claim. The government checks the compliance and then awards it based on the highest scores. As a bidder, you must assess yourself based on the rules spelled out by the RFP. Must substantiate your score claims by providing the needed support documents with the proper annotations. You want to provide the usual administrative documents, but really no technical experience, past performance, resumes, basically no proposal writing is involved in these GWACs. Once the government receives your proposal, they're going to review it for compliance and immediately remove the ones that are non-compliant. They're going to check all the substantiations by reviewing your documents to make sure that your substantiations meet that requirement and justify the scoring. And they're going to award it to a finite number of companies. That's, again, going to be based on the highest score. So regarding the Alliant3 opportunity, this is the previous alliance. Their ordering periods were April 2014 until April 30, 2019. The active task order period was completed, must be completed by April 30, 2024. The ceiling values were 50 billion with an average of 4.6 billion awarded per year. 11.4 was awarded in fiscal year 18, which was the last fiscal year of performance. The ordering period's acceptance began on July 1, 2018. It had 5-year base with 4-year options. And then the base period was ending in June 30, 2023. The ceiling value on the previous was 75 billion, a 25 billion increase from the original Alliant. And the number of awards was 60 initially, and then now it's 40. On the current Alliant3, again, our agency is the GSA. It is going to be a multiple award IDIQ. Estimated value 75 billion. GSA has requested an open-ended ceiling. Period of performance is a 10-year term. The base period is 5 years with one option that's another 5-year period. Maximum 60 awards. Solicitation number is there. The set-aside is full and open. The status is that a draft RFP was issued, and the last modification issued was January 5, 2023. The full RFP due date, that's still to be determined, but it is expected to be in the calendar, in this 2023 calendar year. The questions and comments on the draft was due yesterday, January 31st, so it is closed now. There are 5 service areas under Alliant3. The first one is infrastructure work, and that's going to include the hardware, software, licensing, technical support, warranty, as well as tech refresh and enhancements for hardware and software. The second service area is application. It's going to be to provide support for all applications and collaborative service capabilities that include support for developing and implementing enterprise and departmental level applications. Service 3 is IT management services, and that's to provide support for all operations and IT resource management requirements across the federal government. These include strategic planning, management, and control functions integral to the IT initiatives. Service area 4 is cloud computing, and that's about the convenient on-demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computing resources, servers, storage, application services. And then service area 5 is big data and big data analytics to resolve the inability of traditional data architectures to efficiently handle the new data sets. Similar to Polaris, if you've been involved with that, the NAICS codes are the same. We've got the 518210, which is data processing, hosting, and related services. 541511 is custom computer programming. 541512, computer systems design services. 541513 for computer facilities and management. And then we have 541519 for other computer-related services. Regarding the proposal structure and award basis, for the proposal structure, we've got 6 volumes. Volume 1 is general. Volume 2 is relevant experience. Volume 3 is going to include past performance. Volume 4 is system certifications and clearances. Volume 5 is organizational risk assessment, and Volume 6 is responsibility. Regarding the award basis, so the award process, of course, the government takes multiple steps. The first one is as soon as they get the proposals, they're going to rank the proposals based on scores. The top 60 will be reviewed first. They're calling this the preliminary qualifying proposal. Then step 2 goes into the screening process. They verify that all of your supporting documentation for the elements to justify your scoring submitted on those PQPs have been met. Step 3 would be the acceptability review. Basically, a pass-fail is done on the existence of the SF33s, self-scoring worksheets, Section K, meaningful relationship letters, JV partnerships, CTA agreements, the subcontractor letters of commitment for small businesses, etc. And that's very important because we have seen if you have even missed an amendment, you might have had 10 amendments, but you forgot to put in 9, the government will disqualify you for being non-compliant. Step 4 is the evaluation of the PQP support documentation. So all of the supporting documentation for each score element for each of the PQP is reviewed. And if a PQP loses the points and drops it from the top 60, then the next proposal replaces it. So basically you completely drop out. To be awarded, you must be one of the top 60 at the end of the process, and then pass the responsibility review section. I'm going to now turn it over to my colleague, Ab, who's going to run through the scoring system with you.
Okay, thank you, Muge. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this webinar. We have a lot to cover. I'm just hoping that we can finish and have some time for the Q&A because I want to go deep into the scoring system and hopefully give you some insight about it. So essentially, the scoring system is based on 4 main factors. The total score is 94,700, at least at this time, with the latest iteration of the RFP, and it is based on 4 major factors. The NAICS relevant experience projects, and we're going to call these reps from now on. So the NAICS reps, that will give you 57,500, which is the largest chunk of the scoring. Then you get the emerging technology reps, or ET reps, as we call them. That's 9,100 points. Systems, certifications, and clearances gives you a total of 20,600 points. And that includes the latest edition of sustainability certifications. And then finally, organizational risk assessment gives you 7,500 or 7,500 points. I'm going to discuss each of these 4 different areas separately and go into details about each of them. But you can get a view of where they stand with respect to each other. Here, you can see that the NAICS rep, the blue in the graph, is much larger than the rest. It's, I think, around 70% of the total score comes from the NAICS reps. And you see that the other 3 are considerably smaller compared to the NAICS rep. And this, we are going to get arrive at some conclusions based on that. But in the next slides, I'm going to discuss each of these separately for you. And I'm going to start with the first one, which is the NAICS reps, the most important ones. Here, again, the NAICS reps have 7 sub-factors under them. So essentially, for that 50,000 and something, 57,500 actually, there are 7 factors that will create that score. And obviously, you need to provide contracts for each of these factors to get the points. You can see the 7 factors are the contracts themselves. So that's the minimum contracts that you can actually, the minimum score that you get here is providing 7 contracts. And I'm going to go into the details of what the requirements for each of those contracts will be. But essentially, they give you 2,500 for each contract for a total of 17,500. Then you can get extra credit, extra score for size and complexity. And they changed this recently. It was around 6,000. You can see it's now 10,500. Used to be 6,000, and it was also the value, the size of the contract was much smaller than what it is now. So right now, you get, if your contracts are between $35 to $100 million, you get 500 points. If they're between 100 million to 275 million, you get 1,000 points. And if they're above 275 million, you get 1,500 points. But they used to be the original RFP, draft RFP, these numbers were much lower. So they have decided to go towards larger contracts, which is obviously towards larger businesses. So 7 of those, each 1,500, you get 10,500. Multiple agency award, if you can prove that, say, the 7 contracts that you have were each for a different agency, you get 500 points for each new agency, so a total of 3,500. Cost reimbursement, if you can provide 2 contracts, not all 7, so you don't get credit for all 7, just 2 contracts is enough. Each will give you 2,000, and for a total of 4,000. The type of the contract must be of a cost reimbursement type. Then we get to task orders awarded under multiple award IDIQs. Again, here, the maximum you can provide is 2. Each get 1,500, so for a total of 3,000. If you can also prove that one of your contracts, and maximum 1, was in a foreign location, and this is different from OCONUS. Remember that OCONUS does, when you say OCONUS, it means Hawaii, Alaska, Guam, and that sort of areas as well. Here they don't count, so you really need to be outside U.S. territory, say in Europe, Africa, or Asia to get that point, and you get 1,500 for that. Finally, past performance, if you're above satisfactory or above in terms of past performance, each contract get 2,500, 7 by times 2,500, you get 17,500. So that's the way. Now, you can provide less than 7 contracts, obviously, but if you want to win, you really need to go for all 7 contracts, and we'll get to that point when we come to discuss partnering and other areas. So there is no requirement for a maximum of 7, but 7 will give you the highest score. So consider that. Now, if you look at the weight of each of these 7 different sub-factors, you'll see that contracts, the size, complexity, and past performance are the big ones. And the number in the middle of each of these is the number of contracts that you need, or the maximum number of contracts that you need to provide. But essentially, you can see that the contracts themselves, size and complexity, and past performance are the 3 ones that will give you the highest score. I'm trying to emphasize these so you know where to focus, both when you're looking at your own contracts and when you're actually going to find partners and looking at their contracts. So a partner that brings you, say, 1,500 for in a foreign location, is not comparable to a partner that will bring you a contract itself with, very good size, complexity, past performance, and cost reimbursement, that sort of thing. And I'll show you towards the end of the webinar, one of the tools we use to actually gauge the importance of different contracts and how to compare them together. So moving on, here I wanted to discuss what the requirements of these contracts, the 7 maximum contracts that you provide are. First of all, the contracts you provide must be prime contracts. You cannot provide subcontracts. Now, there is some ambiguity here in the wording of the RFP, because it clearly says that you can only provide prime contracts, but then in another section, it discusses submission of proving documents for subcontracts. But essentially, I think to be on the safe side, you should consider that you cannot use subcontracts, can only use prime contracts. However, your contracts can be U.S. federal government, state government, international public sector, and non-government projects. When it says non-government project, means private sector or commercial projects. So any of those you can actually use, as long as it has the other requirements that I'm going to go through. You can use standalone contracts or task orders under single or multiple award IDIQs, BPAs or FSS contracts, that sort of thing. Now, this is the main requirement. The contract value must be above $7,500,000. So that's the limiting factor. You can't use contracts that are less than that. Note that this is the total value. It's not the annual value, because right now, for example, Oasis Plus and some of the other self-scoring types are looking for annual value. This is not annual value. This is the total contract value. And I'll jump to item 6 in continuation of that. When you want to calculate what the contract value is, you have 2 types of contracts. You have contracts that have been completed. If you have a completed contract, then you actually look at what you were paid, or as the government calls it, obligated value. So obligated value is for the case of contracts that are completed. But if your contract is ongoing, then you don't look at what, how much you've been paid or anything. You just look at the value on the contract document, and this is important, you add in all the option years. So if it's a 5-year base plus 5 years option, you add in the value of the 5-year option, and that's the value that you will put in for that contract. And then coming back to item 5, there is a limitation on the performance, in that either if it's ongoing, it has to have at least 1 year of performance. So assuming that you get a contract, say this month or next month, congratulations, but you can't use it probably if Alliant is going to be issued anytime soon during 2023. So because you need 1 year of performance, or it might be a completed project, in which case it must have been completed within the last 5 years from the date of proposal, when the proposals are due. And we don't know when that is, whether that is going to fall within 2023, or it might be delayed and fall into 2024. But considering that, try to not go for any contracts that are at least 2017 or before that. I'm talking about completion date. So these are the requirements for the NAICS or reps. Mainly the fact that they need to be over $7,500,000, 1 year of performance, or completed within the last 5 years, and you're good to go. And of course, and obviously, the NAICS codes. The NAICS codes that Muge went through for different types of IT work, you need to prove either whether the NAICS code is on the contract document or on FPDS, or you can do it through citations from the statement of work. But obviously, these need to be relevant contracts. Okay, so that was the first main factor, the NAICS reps. The second factor are called emerging technology reps, or ET reps. Now, there are 11 of these emerging technologies, and they're listed here from ET1 AI all the way to ET11 Zero Trust Networks. And you get you get points for proving that you or your partners actually performed any contracts in this regard. So let's see how that works. There are 3 sub-factors under ET reps. The contracts themselves, there are 11 areas, and for each area, you can provide 3 contracts. The first contract you provide will get you 100 points. The second contract will get you 200 points, and the third contract will give you 300 points. Now, it doesn't mean that you need 11 by 33, which is 33 contracts, because one contract might cover multiple areas. But within that particular, say, ET1, which is AI, you can only get a point for one contract each. So if you want the second 200 or the 300 point, you have to bring in other contracts. Breadth is when you have covered in the contracts that you have provided, all those 33 different types, you can prove that you actually covered 8 or more categories. If that is the case, you get 1,500. If you can prove that you covered 5 to 7 of them, you get 1,000 points. And if you can prove that you got 2 to 4 of them, you get 500 points. And the last one is engaging small business. If you're a large business and you can prove that the small businesses provided those ET relevant experience projects, you get 200 points for each and a maximum of 5, so 1,000 points there. However, if you're a small business prime, then you automatically get the 1,000 points. So if you're a prime and you're small business or small business JV, whatever, you get this 1,000 points automatically. So looking at the different points for each of these, you can see that the main lump goes with the contracts themselves, 6,600 points there. Breadth gives you 1,500, and engaging small business gives you 1,000 points. Now, what are the requirements? The requirements are essentially the same, except the same with NAICS REPs. So the requirements for ET REPs are essentially the same, except that the value can be anything above 1 million. The value doesn't have to be 7,500,000. Everything else is the same, except one important fact that I've put in red so you understand. The emerging technology part of the contract doesn't have to be above 1 million and can be any value. So you can actually have a contract, say, for $2 million, but you did, say, it was a normal, for example, IT work, but it included $10,000 of IoT or $10,000 of AI work within that $2 million contract. It is acceptable. So this is something to consider. You don't have to look around for, over $1 million for any of those ET reps. As long as the contract, the overall contract was over 1 million, is good to go. So that's important to consider. Okay, moving on. Now we go to the third factor. The third factor is systems, certifications, and clearances. You can see that that itself has 4 subcategories: systems, industry certifications, sustainability, and government facility clearance. And the score for each of them is shown. The total comes to 20,600. And remember that you cannot use your partner's score for that. Only the score for, if you have as the prime, if you have any of these, that counts. Partners stuff, like, for example, if your partner has an ISO 9001, it doesn't count. If you're a JV, then the system certifications and clearances must be in the name of the JV, or all members must have that particular, say, CMMI or ISO 9001, whatever, to get the point for it. So that's something to consider. Don't try to create partnerships because of system certifications and clearances, because you don't get the point for that. Moving on, so you can compare these. You can see that I've colored the different 4 sub-factors differently. The blue one is the systems, the green one is the industry certifications, the orange one is the sustainability, and gray is government facility clearances. You can see how they compare, and essentially the systems one is the largest, but it's nearly equal to system certifications, industry certifications. Okay. Now, the final 4th main factor is called organizational risk assessment. The score is not high, obviously, it's 7,500, but there are some points that I wanted to make sure it is understood. You receive the 7,500 points if you go solo, in that you don't have any partners or JVs, or if your partnership or JV has worked together before. So if you create a partnership or a JV for Alliant to go for, this, you can't claim this 7,500 points. But if your JV or partnership has completed projects before, or has done projects before, or if you're going solo, which I doubt most companies can do that, then you can claim this. Now, the previously thing is the catchy thing. Previously means before the issuance of the Alliant3 solicitation. Now, Alliant3 solicitation hasn't been issued yet. So this gives you some area to actually go for that 7,500, even if you have a new partnership and JV. Try to get a small contract going. The RFP doesn't say who the contract should have been from, how long you should have worked together, anything like that. At least the RFP right now doesn't say it. Maybe they will change it when they hear me saying this. But with the current wording of the RFP, it allows you to go and get a contract during this period before the final Alliant3 solicitation is out. And when that's done, even with a commercial entity, whatever, you get 7,500 points. So you should probably consider that if you have formed a partnership already or a JV, new one, and you want to get that 7,500 in your bag. Okay, now one last point in item 5. If you're joining with a new member, either a partnership or JV, but are getting less than 7,500 points from this new relationship, then this relationship is not to your interest. What I mean is that, say you go and partner with a company that brings you 5,000 more points, but doing that, you actually lose this 7,500 points. So you should always calculate what the point factors are that you're getting with your partnership or JV. And I'm talking about new ones. If you have a partnership or a JV that has worked together before, you're good to go. But again, you too, remember, you might be a JV or a partnership that have worked together, and you bring in another member or a partner, another new partner, you're going to lose that 7,500 points. So always do your math correctly to make sure that you can get the maximum score you can. Okay, now this is not it. Okay, hold on. Now, what I wanted to say, I'm going to discuss a little bit more about partnering because it's an important thing on Alliant, and it is the way to maximize your score, whether you're a large business or whether you're a small business. Partnering will allow you to maximize your score, and since you want to be one of those 60, it is the way to go. So if you're a large business, you can use partnership or a JV, and use the projects performed by the partnership or the JV members for the NAICS reps as well as the ET reps. So the projects from the JV members or the partnership members can be used as the 7 projects for the NAICS reps, as well as all the 33 projects for the ET reps. You cannot use prime sub relationships or FSS CTAs. This is important. You cannot use prime sub relationships or FSS CTAs. They are not acceptable. There is a exception, and I'm going to say what that is. If you're a small business, so that was for large businesses. If you're a small business, not only can you create a partnership or a JV, but you can also use prime sub relationships and use the subs projects as well towards the NAICS reps and ET reps. So if you're a large business, only partnerships and JVs. If you're a small business prime, then partnerships, JVs, plus prime sub relationships. In either case, no FSS CTAs are acceptable. Now, for both of them, for the point systems, as I mentioned, systems, certifications, and clearances, you can only get the points if you are in the name, if they are in the name of the prime. And if the prime is JV, it must be in the name of the JV or the partnership if it's a partnership. And it might not be in the name of the JV, but the JV has 2 members and both members have that particular element, systems or certifications element, then you get the score. Other than that, you don't get it. Now, for JVs and partnerships, they must have been registered in the name of the JV or partnership in SAM, and you must have a UEI number in SAM. So remember that. For small businesses, although prime sub relationships are allowed, but combinations are not allowed. For example, you can't have a sub. We said that for small businesses, you are allowed to have a prime sub relationship, but the sub itself can't be a JV. So you can't create, complex relationships. If you're bringing in a sub, it has to be solo company, not a JV. And lastly, I discussed this, you lose 7,500 points if your partnership or JV or prime sub in case of small businesses has even 1 member who has not worked with the partnership or JV before. We discussed this before. So these were the points, and here are my recommendations. Use partners to boost your points for both NAICS and ET rep factors. These 2 are the main factors, 70% overall for the NAICS. The NAICS reps give the highest score if you're short there or have room to increase your score there. Try to maximize your score by use of partnering. So when you're working with partners, trying to decide, who to bring in, first of all, focus on your NAICS reps and see which partners you can bring in there to actually maximize your score. So priority is with NAICS reps compared to ET reps. Obviously, I'm not saying that you shouldn't bring in partners for ET reps. What I'm saying is that since the NAICS reps give you the highest score, 50,000, 57,000, you should actually focus there first to find how you can bring in other partners and maximize your score, then go after ET reps. Because ET reps give you maximum 9,100. But as I said, again, you can increase as many as possible partners there or subcontractors in case of small businesses under ET reps to actually get your score higher. And then the factor as mentioned, if you gain less than 7,500 points by bringing in a new partner or member or subcontractor into your group, refrain from that. The joint venture, the JV, the partnership, or CTA agreements should be well written as per the requirements of the RFP. They have mentioned this clearly in the RFP. So when you're creating those agreements with your subs, with your partners, with your joint ventures, make sure that the agreements cover everything that is in the RFP. Finally, and most importantly, use as many partners as is logistically possible to boost your score. At the end of the day, they're going to pick the 60 who have the highest score. So if you can bring in more partners to even get your points, score 100 points higher, do that. I've said as is logistically possible because I know that, getting partners, becoming partners, JV members, that's a hard process, especially if there are multiple companies involved. There are a lot of business discussions to be made and all that. You have the time right now. The RFP is not out. So you should use this time to maximize this and use, as I said, maximum number of partners that you can get. Okay, we are done there with partnering. Now let's see how we can optimize the scoring. Some of the points that I wanted to make, read the RFP and modifications and very carefully and fully understand them. Usually we've seen great proposal managers and companies who, because self-scoring proposals are new, have made mistakes and actually misunderstood the requirements, underscored themselves or overscored themselves. So do this. Concentrate on maximizing the score on the next reps factor. It provides more than 60%. And with the ET reps, it comes to 70%. Maximize the use of partners, as many as is logistically possible. I mentioned that. And use them to boost your next reps factor score first. This bit is all about getting a higher score. Use all means possible. If you have to partner with a large number of small companies to boost your score up and be one of the select 60, do it. Outsource the proposal preparation and reviews so that professional people can go through your material and maximize your score. So these are about score optimizations. But before I go into compliance, what I want to show you is one of the tools we have in our company, we do for our clients. And within your company, you should create a similar tool, especially if you have a number of contracts and you want to decide. At the end of the day, you must select 7 contracts. Now, you have partners bringing in contracts, you have your own contracts, and you have multiple partners. So which of the 7 should you pick? So allow me to share my screen, and I will show you this tool that we use, and you should, as I said, create something similar for yourself. Okay, this is a tool we use for our clients to see which contracts to use. For this client, I've changed the name to Prime YY Solutions. The Prime is YY Solutions, and then it has 2 subcontractors, and I've changed the names a little bit. And the black cells are contract numbers. I didn't want to show that. So, but this company has 10 contracts itself, and then it has 2 subcontractors, one with, I should say subcontractors, they're actually partners, one with 5 contracts that they have brought to the table, and another one with 2. Now this form, the most important part is this column J, which I am highlighting here. Column J shows the maximum score each contract can bring by itself, not compared with the others. I mean, not what it does is it's going to add up all the capabilities of the contract. And sometimes, for example, for cost reimbursement, obviously you can't have 7 contracts with cost reimbursement. You can have only 2. But here we are not discussing that. We are discussing what each contract will bring to the table. And the shades, the different shades and the numbers under this J column will tell me which are the largest contracts. When I say largest in terms of the score they give me. For example, this contract is perhaps the smallest contract for this company. It's only $29 million. They have a contract with $295 million, another with 136, another one with 295, another 295, just similar probably. But you can see that this one, because of the different sub-factors that it covers, will give me 8,000 points by itself compared with the others. And the shades, anything above 7,000 will be a dark color, and then it will get lighter as the score comes down. And looking at this and looking at the subcontractor, the partner's score, I can pick out of these scores which 7 at the end of the day I can actually use for this for my submission. So I can probably take say 4 from the prime and then 3 from the sub, from the partner, make the 7. So this form helps me, first of all, decide which contracts to pick to give me the highest score for Alliant. It also gives me other capabilities. For example, when I enter the pop dates, the start date and the end date, it automatically notifies me that this contract cannot be used because it ends towards the beginning of 2018, which by the time Alliant comes out will be more than 5 years old. So it gives a red. And also here, I know which ones are towards, if there's a different NAICS, it will automatically change into red. And I know that, I can't use it. These are all good NAICS codes, but some of them are not NAICS rep, they're ET reps, and I will discuss that later in a minute. But here, as I said, this form, and many of it is automatically calculated. These are formulas. I don't know if you can see this formula at the top. These are different formulas that are in the table. So it automatically calculates the score for many of these where it can. The others you have to input by hand. But essentially it calculates for each of these what the maximum score for each contract, which is one row, is. Now, the second part of this table, which is here, is for the ET reps, starting from column T. These are the 3 scores that you can get for each of the different categories of ET reps. So AI, for example, you get first, second, and third. Each of them have different score. And you can see some of these contracts have gotten score for them. And this helps me, when I'm looking at this, see, for example, that under, for example, AI, I get 100 points here, 200 points under this contract. And then from my partner here, I get another contract, which gives me 300 points. So 300 points above and 300 points here, I get them full 600 points. So another capability of this table is that it helps me actually know how I'm covered with regards to the different ET rep factors, what I'm missing. And when a new partner comes on the table, I put it into this, into one of these rows, and it automatically tells me if it's a partner that will increase my score or not. And with regards to ET reps, whether I already covered those 3, areas under that particular category or not, and whether their contract is going to help me. So you need to really create something similar to this when you're actually working on Alliant. Okay, let me continue on then. Let's go into compliance very quickly. We're running out of time. I want to be able to answer some of the questions. So in compliance, finding non-compliance with your submission is the government's first line of defense. Triple check to ensure your submission is fully compliant in form and in content. Either way, they are allowed to actually disqualify you, even if the name of your documents are not done properly. So some of the common compliance issues we've seen in different projects we've done: misunderstanding the requirements and their consequences, including overscoring yourself, misunderstanding the partnering requirements, and not adhering to the limitations set on the prime and the partners or JV's participation. Incomplete substantiation, that means providing the proper documents for proofing in general. Incorrect and incomplete compliance in form to the requirements, including how to name the documents, what documents to provide, how to submit them, and all that. So compliance is really important. How to prevent compliance? Read the RFP and all its modifications thoroughly, multiple times. Create a reliable compliance checklist. This is essential. I have it here. I wanted to show you, but I'm running low on time. So unfortunately, I'm not going to go on that. But you really need to have a compliance checklist to make sure that you don't miss anything. Do at least 2 rounds of compliance checks when you're finished with the scoring. 2 rounds at least. Attention to detail is vital. Check every single item per the RFP sections L and M multiple times to ensure they're compliant in form and in content. Discuss compliance with your team. Somebody or a number of people must, act as a devil's advocate. You want to make sure that, you're there. Always assume that you've missed something. Do an independent audit of each document that is to be submitted both in form and in content. Utilize a third party to review your scoring and your proposal documents to have another set of eyes. Check your work. This is really vital. This is not a sales pitch. I've written it. I really don't mean it. I've done over 145 self-scoring projects for a number of contract clients. As I said, from very large defense contractors all the way to small contractors. And I've worked with superb proposal managers. But at the end of the day, you need a third set of eyes to check your work. Because as I said, compliance is the first line of defense for the government. You might have the best score in the world. If you're not compliant, you've missed something, they might disqualify you completely. So at the end, just how we can help you. We provide free consultation, so you can communicate with us if you need consultation. We provide full proposal development. We're doing it right now for a large number of companies on Oasis Plus, large businesses. And we go through different phases. We first assess your score and try to see how to optimize it. Later on, when the RFP is in a better mode, we are sure they're not going to change much. We'll prepare the proposal, and we'll also help you actually submit to the portal, the government portal. Or we can actually, you might do it in-house, and you might ask us to help you in terms of reviewing and auditing. In those cases, we do 2 rounds of complete compliance checks, both in form and content, and a score optimization checks, and we also help you in terms of submission. So these are the different services we provide. Moving forward fast. Here, if you download the slideshows, you'll have phone number and emails for myself for technical questions and for sales-related issues. My colleague, Maroon Freedy, email and phone number are there. And we arrive at the Q&A with only 4 or 5 minutes left. So Muge, please move on. Sorry.
Yes, I'll read some of the ones that have been asked. I think somebody was delayed and they want to know if they can get a recording so they can catch up on the first 15 minutes. Yes, this link will be sent to all participants within 24 hours. And also we could download these right from the file, your file tab. A question about, as a small business who recently received their 8A, would you say Alliant3 would be gauged more for larger businesses, or do you think small businesses could win? I don't know if you want to take this, but obviously it's all about the scoring. And if you have projects that meet the breadth, the experience, the size, the scale, the NAICS codes, etc., even though it's full and open, certainly an 8A or a small business can also qualify.
Right. I wanted to add that for an 8A, I think your best bet would be to actually be part of a team with another company, large prime, and be part of the team. I think that would be best course of action.
A question, I'm not sure I understand this. Would it count you just give a company one position on an existing contract? If I understand that question correctly, possibly has to do with the subcontracting? Give company one position. Do you understand that question, Ab? Or
no. Yeah, they can communicate with us, email us, and explain it in more detail, and we'll surely answer.
All right. And then another question, please review the ET scoring again. How do you determine which one to use as first, second, and third? Can they be used even if there aren't a part of the 7 contracts being used for NAICS code score? We're running out of time, so you can definitely review the slides or do give us a call, and we can schedule a call with you and explain it a little bit further. Unless there's something
I'll just go very quickly. Yeah, Muge. Yes, it doesn't matter which one is first, second, third. The first one you submit, you get 100 points. If you have 2 contracts, it doesn't matter which one is which. You get, for the second one, you get 200 points. And if you have 3 of them, you get, for the third one, you get 300 points. And yes, they can be completely different from the 7 contracts that you provide. You can actually bring in 33 maximum, I'm talking, 11 times 3, 33 different contracts. They just have to be over $1 million.
Okay, and let me run through here. If you are a small business, would you have teaming agreements on individual bids of a large prime? I'm not sure I understand that question either. But if you are a small business and you'd like to join a large business, you would have to, yes, have a teaming agreement with them in order to be on their team. Ab, do you have another understanding for that?
No, you are on it. Yep.
Okay, very good. I believe those are the ones that are there, and we have a couple of minutes. I can read off some more questions. Confirm that we cannot use subcontracts for reps. Yes, that is correct. Only prime contracts can be used for either NAICS reps or ET, emerging technology reps. Can 2 different entities affiliated with the same organization participate in the bid? Well, the RFP does state that they are not sharing proposal evaluation elements and or committing resources from other entities by the way of a meaningful relationship. So basically, if you're not affiliated in some form and you need to have some sort of a meaningful relationship where you demonstrate that also with a letter within that corporate structure, then you can submit separate offers. But if you are somehow an affiliate of or an umbrella, of a larger organization, then you cannot. It has to be just from that one entity. How are we doing on time? Are we maybe one more question?
Yes.
Explain what you mentioned about the fact that for ET reps, the value can be less than 1 million. Isn't 1 million a requirement? Yes, the value of the contract you cite for that particular emerging technology must be over 1 million, but the amount of money in that contract devoted solely to that ET technology does not have to be 1 million. For example, you might have a contract value of 2 million for doing some IT work, but only $10,000 of that was for IoT. You can still use this towards getting the score for IoT. And with that, we are out of time. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And if you have any interest in moving forward, please do contact us. We'd be happy to give you more information and support you on your bid for Alliant3. Good afternoon.
Thank you, everyone. Yes, thank you, everyone. And we hope to see you on our future webinars as well. We are holding a webinar on OSIS Plus. So next week, hope to see you there as well. Thank you and have a great day.
Bye-bye.